What do you not own enough of? That reminds me of the time someone on our cooking once said they were building up a seasoning in their Dutch oven and they let someone borrow it. That person then cleaned it with vinegar and got it real clean and got all the stuff off the bottom of the pot and they were pissed 'cause all their seasoning was gone. Okay, that sucks, but then they proceeded to mention that it was an enameled Dutch oven, you know. The kind that requires no seasoning at all lol. I told them their friend did them a huge favor because they had been cooking with a dirty pot. I used to know a guy who seasoned every pot and pan he owned, including non-stick. They were all encrusted with filth but he was like, "No, you're supposed to do it this way, you're not supposed to ever wash pots or pans." His logic was, if it works on cast iron, it'll work on anything. Anyway, I always turn down any food he made. Man, this reminds me of a friend I have, not specifically with pans but occasionally he will just come out with an absolutely wild belief that he will adamantly defend, even when there is absolutely no evidence for on the internet and he is probably the sole believer of. I'm just wondering where he gets it from. My eyes started rage twitching and then got better when you mentioned that it was enameled and then started twitching again when I realized how they were cooking in dirt. A well-seasoned cast iron pan doesn't have stuff on the bottom though. That part was a big tip-off. It should be basically a non-stick pan. There's a microscopically thin layer of polymerized oil that you can definitely clean with soap and water because it's more or less permanently chemically bonded to the metal. I've seen people with chunks of black carbonized food from 40 years of cooking in their cast iron and it's horrifying. There shouldn't be any buildup. It wasn't like that when Grandma died. It's not supposed to be like that now. I genuinely thought the seasoning of these pans was basically them not being cleaned and it bring a buildup of whatever's been cooked. Good to hear that's not how it's meant to be and I'm now going to look into them further. Basically, yes, a well-seasoned cast iron pan should be black. But no, it shouldn't have a layer of carbon deposits anywhere but especially not on the cooking surface. Caring for a cast iron pan isn't difficult, just time sensitive. After cleaning it thoroughly with soap, water, and a non-abrasive cleaning sponge, heat the pan, preferably in the oven at 225, until completely dry after wiping off excess water. Then apply, and I cannot stress this enough, a very thin layer of cooking oil, vegetable or canola. Olive oil has too low of a smoke point for this, and allow to cool on the stove top or range and you can put it away when it's cool to the touch. A while back, I threw all my plastic containers away and just bought like 2 or 3 large packs of the same exact type. There are multiple sizes but only 3 different types of lids. I never have to search for the right lid and they all stack neatly. I grew up with cabinets full of hundreds of different containers, each with its own unique lid that somehow vanished. Edit, in case anyone cares, I have a few packs of these. I think they were on sale at the time. I don't know if they are the best by any means but we have had good use from them. Edit 2, since I have you all here, I also use plastic containers in my pantry instead of all the package boxes like cereal boxes. It can cost $100 plus but you get an extra 50% of your pantry. I also enjoy seeing my food, snacks. We have plastic tub things for more individually packaged items like gummies and then the large clear ones for things like cereals. Also, you can get a can organizer to free up more pantry space. Story time. My uncle and his friend bought a quarter section, so 160 acres, of land back in like 1990. This land was farmland, several miles south of our city. They purchased this land thinking that eventually the city would expand that far south, and they'd be able to sell it and make a lot of money. By 2000, Our city still hadn't even really come near where that land was at. In 1990, our city was probably 5 miles from that land. By 2000, it was still probably 4 miles from that land. So they sold it for about what they paid for it 10 years prior, just 'cause they had other things they wanted to spend their money on. And then right around 2010, the city ran out of room to the north, so it started expanding to the south, fast. By 2015, that area had begun being developed. By 2016, Walmart was built directly on that plot of land that my uncle owned, along with a bunch of other retail stores. He was telling me this a couple years ago, and I just felt so bad for him. He said that is his biggest regret in life, was selling that land in 2000. He said he didn't even need the money in 2000, he just figured our city was never going to expand that far, and he just wanted out. If he would have held on until Walmart wanted that land, he'd probably be a multi-millionaire at this point. I agree. My family never had land, but my father-in-law has roughly 200 acres. Not all together, split in two, close to 100 each. He's mentioned getting rid of some of it before, and I just tell him I'll start paying the taxes, upkeep, etc. Just don't sell it. There's no worry or concerns it would get developed. It's way out in the country, but still nice to have if anyone wants to build a house on it or something. Me and my wife have talked about moving back down there and putting something to live in. Way cheaper, just longer commute, an hour both ways, for work. Absolutely. I work at a well-known outdoor brand store, named after a region in Argentina, and we sell underwear. The underwear is quite expensive if you ask me, at $32 for one pair of boxers. Now we do get a discount that is plenty generous, so I have slowly been replacing my Hanes and Fruit of the Loom boxers with the good stuff. If you can afford to treat yourself, spend the money on good underwear. It's a good day when I open my underwear drawer and see I get to wear the good ones. I moved entirely to Smart Wool, Stance, Patagonia, and Eggs Official boxer briefs, and Smart Wool, Stance, Darn Tough, and Pearl Izumi socks. I live in the crotch of luxury. Once you go merino wool and quality polypro blends, you never go back. I bought my dad like 6 pairs of Smart Wool socks for Christmas once, and he threw away the entire rest of his sock drawer and brings it up every holiday. Late 2019 was when I was last happy for more than just a couple hours. February 2020, my dog passed away. My best friend in the whole universe. Right before I moved back home with my parents to wait out COVID. Luckily my parents called me the night they decided he had to go. He was ready to go, and I did get to spend some quality time with him before he went, as I stayed by my parents regularly. But damn, did his health deteriorate fast in his last year. By the time we put him down, I don't think he even recognized anything around him. I still cry when I think about him. I'm glad I was holding him as he went out. I would have never forgiven myself or my parents had they put him down without me there. Since he left, my life has been in a downward spiral. My last laugh was August 2020. My girlfriend of 5 years and I were doing a long-distance relationship. I last saw her when we took her dog to a small lake. Then in September I learned she had been cheating on me for over 4 years, and had been lying about nearly everything about herself since day one. That, paired with isolation, career issues, missing my best friend, and a shoulder injury keeping me out of the gym, lifelong lifter, made 2020 to 2021 the worst 2 years of my life. Based off the trend I've been following, I am not looking forward to 2022. There is still a lot lower I can go, and I'm scared to see what happens, more than I'm happy to see how I can change. I spend as much time as I can when I can with her. Some parents are bitter, some parents are blue, and some are unbearable, terrible too. Some parents are thoughtless, and others unfair, and some are inconstant, and some never there. Some parents are vicious, some parents are hard, and some leave you lonely, and some leave you scarred. Some parents are lazy, and others unkind, and some only wreck and corrupt what they find. Some parents are awful but others are not. They give and they give and they give what they've got. They hold you together, they show you what's true. We don't get to choose them. I'm glad I had you. I used to tell my husband that this would be him if he didn't get involved. He didn't listen. We divorced. My kids are all grown up. I talk to or see them every day. He is an afterthought for them. He says he regrets it. No amount of me telling them that he loves them and they should involve him in their lives changes anything. He showed them how important they were as far as they are concerned. Please, please, please. Don't let their childhood pass you by. I feel this. He's trying, but mental health issues have held him back a lot. He gets overwhelmed with our 3 little kids so easily, so I have them all the time. He's said it will be easier when they're older. But time is slipping by. It used to bother me so much. As they became adults and had their own children, I was so worried about my boys. They are both excellent fathers. They work but they always carve out time for their kids. I worried my daughters would marry men like their dad. They have good husbands that put their families first. It still keeps me awake sometimes, wondering if I could have done something different to make him a more involved dad. I'll die wondering that. You cannot change him. No one can help someone who doesn't want help. We cannot change others, only ourselves. You were a good mom. He made the decision not to be involved. It probably never was a single huge decision, but it's the tiny choices day after day to turn away and ignore that little person who's bothering you and just wants to play when you're so tired. Those tiny choices add up. My kids are teens now and until recently, thought this was a great song. Then I explained how sad it made me and why. Like everyone, I have to balance competing needs and can't always spend enough time with them. Now they're only a few short years from leaving home. I left home 2 years ago. My dad played this when I was a kid, but I never paid much attention. I played it on guitar and sang it to him on Father's Day 1 year, and that was tough. He had some tears. He played it on the TV with the lyrics a week before I was set to leave with my mom and siblings around. It was so hard holding back those tears. A few escaped from each of us but wouldn't admit it when the others pointed it out. My father died last March right after my birthday, and this is hitting me so damned hard. I received a text the day before he died after 3 months of silence. I didn't reply. It hurts so much to not have a father to watch me grow. I'm just a young man. I can't begin to imagine not having a father figure to show my accomplishments and how I have followed his footsteps in some ways, even though we are very much different but the same. It fucking hurts, but I felt that's what is important. Thanks for sharing. Find a local community college with acting classes and sign up. Best thing I ever did for my social life. To explain, I'm not talking about acting like a different person so you can get friends. I mean, it's a great social group, and the exercises in class really cured my being an introvert and made it much easier to get through social occasions, job interviews, etc. I have a friend that I found out actually goes to this type of social class. He goes there and they basically talk about different social situations and how to handle them. They do things like social improv and stuff. I was absolutely shocked when he told me. He's like the most chill and outspoken guy I've ever met. Really great conversationalist. Travel memories. For me, getting in contact with other cultures and places are the epitome of humanity. and traveling is the best thing you can do with money. My dream and obsession with traveling are the only thing that made me endure a heavy depression some years ago, and it remains a goal that I'm pursuing. Too bad I live in a country with shit economy with heavy taxes. It's super extra expensive to buy even cheap tickets to Europa/NA/Asia, and it takes several years saving money since I'm lower middle class. But I won't give up though, and I suggest people reading this to pull the trigger and see for yourself how life-changing can be an exchange experience studying a language, volunteering or just traveling for fun. I love learning new languages and about different cultures. I usually hit a plateau with languages and my brain just stops taking in new information. The ADHD is strong with this one. I hope you can do it. There are some awesome tricks to find cheap flights and housing out there. Start asking around or see if there is a sub on here that can help you reach your dreams. My sister has traveled all over the world since she graduated from university, and she is and always had been beyond frugal. I can relate with your ADHD, hee. About cheap travel. Yeah, luxury traveling was never my intention, and as a tourism bachelor degree, I'm good in researching cheaper destinations and forms of traveling. I'm all in favor or eating only cheap stuff from supermarket, asking for rides, staying in cheap hostels, etc. Unfortunately there's no Ryanair or other low-costs leaving from Brazil, and even those good apps with cheap flights, in weird hours and lots of stops, still show tickets above the reality of most people. It's almost impossible for a non-rich person to travel abroad at will. As a Brazilian, it either takes a few years of saving, or a person to be in the top 5%, and I'm in the first group. Tickets to any other continent are 5-10 minimum salaries, not to mention visa, travel insurance, and many small expenses here and there that add up to a lot, considering our money is undervalued now, so it's extra expensive. For example, I'm willing to do any work in Dublin, cheapest English studying destination, to fund a 3-4 month exchange, saving as much as possible. But just the tickets and the school hosting fee are already super expensive. It costs about 15-20k, and our minimum salary is 1k a month. And a leisure travel wouldn't require paying any school fee and accommodations, but then I couldn't work, and it would make impossible to stay more than 1-2 weeks, which is a shame considering the crazy expensive part are plane tickets, so it would be almost a waste to spend like 10k, years of saving, to stay 1-2 weeks and then coming back so soon. It might look too pessimistic or give the impression I only complain, but don't get me wrong, I'm still pursuing it with all me blood and sweat, and I'm sure it's worthy. I just wanted to explain that it's way more complicated to make international travels from a poor country in a distant continent. As an adult who lives slightly better than how my mom made me believe we were off, I find myself buying new socks and underwear constantly because of this. How many times I had to wear dirty socks and holey underwear because my mom wouldn't buy them for me. Little did I know my dad was giving her $100 a week on top of the shared custody, so now as a broken adult, buying new socks is a weird retail therapy for me. I can't easily get them in Mexico, and the shipping cost has me hesitating. However, a couple of years ago I bought a pack of hiking socks from Costco, and so far they are still a blessing for my feet. As a person working in factory using safety shoes, the combo of hiking socks plus insole makes the difference between walking on a hard surface and walking on a cloud. Totally changes your mood. I literally just got into a conversation about these at the bar last night during the World Series game. I brought it up, then a guy who is a UPS driver sitting on the opposite side of the person I was sitting next to brought up how it's all he buys now. Best product I have spent extra money on to get the quality, They weren't cheap but they fucking last.